Hi, friends. This is Erin. Welcome to part two of this episode. This is a conversation between myself and my co host Amanda, talking about how relationships change with our loved ones who have survived TBIs. So stick around for part two. We try to keep them bite sized so you can have it on the way to the gym or on a walk, whatever you're up to. Just give us a few minutes of your time and hopefully feel more connected in this world. You are not alone. Thanks for listening. And yet we are lucky. And it's so tough that those two things are true every minute of every day, that we're unlucky and we're super lucky. And that part of their identity is knowing those truths.
Yeah. They both live in the same space.
They live in the same space. So when we talk about, this is about relationships, right? This season's about relationships. One of the things that we then needed to do, and I'm still doing it on a daily basis, is redefining normal for my son and what that means for what he can expect to receive from other people, what he can deliver to other people, like his expectations and the things that he has access to you about that. And she's a married mother now, but it is different. There's a new normal. Do you feel like you guys had to have clear conversations about thing is not available to you anymore, or this is a modification you had to make, or is it just that it morphs on its own after the last 10 years?
I think it morphed and came up. As things came up, it was like, oh, how do we handle this? How do we maneuver through this? What do we do with this? I think I mentioned this before. We did not give enough airspace and time to the TBI because it was like her medical things were so concerning. When you have a C2 fracture that doesn't heal and you've got to have another neck surgery. She had two pretty significant neck surgeries. She spent a lot of time with the neck collar on. C2 fractures are very concerning when you're walking around with those. Her medical pieces were pretty involved, even post-hospital. So that medical piece was always kind of just like hovering for us. That piece that we're always talking about, okay, is this TBI related or is this a 17, 18, 19-year-old situation? I don't know that we always did a good job figuring that piece out. And then she's away at college. So it was more of as things came up, we were trying to figure those out. And then our friend COVID came along. And that was like, holy cow, how do we manage all of this? And then getting to your appointments and having access, there was like a year where I don't even know if she had her appointments because so many things were canceled and it was like emergency only. And pretty much things at the U were very hard to get into. And she was driving back and forth for appointments and then trying to establish appointments out in Illinois. And it was like really the perfect storm of everything during that time period too. So there were a lot of things that we just have had to try to figure out. It's probably really been in the last, I would say probably 2.5 years. I feel like we have a lot more supports in place professionally that are able to help her kind of maneuver through things.
So as far as finding a new normal for relationships, for work relationships, for dating before she was married, even now making friends, is that something that she's had to really be intentional about? Or do you think just based on the kind of person, Eric's an introvert, he's a watcher, he didn't require fast-paced, wild McKinsey. So do you think she's had to just address that one-on-one?
Yeah. She does a lot better in one-on-one settings just because of the overload of noise. She also has concussive hearing loss. So even just the auditory is hard for her too. So one-on-one is definitely a better setting for her.
Didn't know that the hearing loss after TBI and ABI was so common. Dallas has 90% loss in one ear and 50% in the other. And he only got hearing aids a couple of months ago. He went 3 years with that sort of profound hearing loss. It impacts relationships. It impacts his ability to understand language and to express with language. and it makes his brain tired. Like folks with TBIs and families of TBI survivors of that hearing loss, because it is significant. And not that it's no big deal to spend $1,500, but nowadays at Costco you can get incredibly high end hearing aids for like $1,500, which I know that's a lot of money, but they used to be like 8 or 10,000. So one of the things that I do want to mention with the identity thing that I was thinking about with Dallas was because of his paralysis, he's paralyzed on his right arm, and because of that paralysis on his leg, it is harder for him to get dressed as sharply as he used to. As you can imagine, with one hand, it's harder to button a shirt. You can do it. It's hard and it's awkward. It's really hard to button your fly. There's a lot of things like that are more
Mm-hmm.
challenging and that make him, for him, as a really independent military guy, he didn't want to come up to his mom and be like, "Can you zip my fly?" And certainly if he's at a restaurant, he
Yeah.
didn't want to, like, "Do I go to the bathroom? Because then I'm going to need somebody to help me." Like, I don't want to do that. So I'll just wear sweats everywhere. Well, now I'm the guy that wears sweats everywhere. I look like I'm always in my pajamas.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I say this as somebody who wears yoga pants like they are religion. Like I believe in comfort. I'm not here to criticize that, but it was hard for him to dress the way that he wanted to dress. About a year ago, I found a company that makes magnet clothes, and there's a few different companies out there. And I was able to get him slacks and jeans that are fashionable. I was like, "Oh, they're all going to be old people clothes." And certainly some of them are, but also anybody with swag can make old people clothes cool. I was able to get him button down shirts, but they're magnets. You can't tell. Golf shirts, they're magnets. You can't tell. I was able to get him so many fashionable, cool clothes that he can operate by himself. So if he gets up and goes to the restroom at a restaurant, he's not now in this position of being a little child who needs their
Mm-hmm.
mommy to help them, because that's not who he wants to be. And so even something as
Right.
simple as clothing that works for the person's new body is something for people to really consider, because I think it makes a big difference. Feeling good in what you're wearing, even if that's yoga pants and a giant
Yes.
sweatshirt like me, but if you feel comfortable, things are better.
Erin, that is so important. It's that feeling good, but it's also being able to have accessible clothes.
Hmm.
Clothes that you're able to maneuver and use is
Hmm.
so important. The other piece along with that I think about, a part of Mackenzie, is even just the decision making. So I have this closet full of clothes, but I have to decide what to put on every day. And
Hmm.
that whole decision fatigue. So trying to really pare down her clothes and what she has. The days that she goes into the office, these are the things that she's going to wear. The days she's at home, these are the things she's going to wear. So that's something that she has tried to pare down a little bit more so that she's not wasting time making decisions on clothes, because that is something that feels overwhelming to her. Like, I've got to make decisions on putting these outfits together, and it just is more brain power. As silly as it is, when we had all four of our kids in the house, we used to have those Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday bins that hung in their closet. And so every Sunday night, everybody had to set their clothes out for the week, because come Monday morning, everybody needed to have their clothes ready to go for the day. And I'm telling Anya Mackenzie, I apologize, but she kind of has a similar bin in her closet now. And she said that just works for her. Like, there were some things that we set up as she was growing up that now work for her as a young adult with a TBI, because they're predictable, they're easy, they're organized, they're visual. And it's just a structured way to kind of get her morning going, because she doesn't have time to make a bunch of decisions.
I love that. I mean, there
So,
was some book, and I think it was called like Flat Sammy or something, where you would put your clothes, you'd build your little person on the ground as a flat, your pants and your shirt. And so we always called that Flat Olivia or Flat Dallas. Like, get your Flat Dallas together for the night before. And you were saying that, and I was like, oh, you can meal prep your clothes, which is exactly what you're talking about. I've not considered that with Dallas, but I love that.
mhm.
And for people that again are newer to this world, it is shocking to find out how many things take brain power. and how analysis
Mm-hmm.
paralysis and TBI are best of friends. And to say,
Yeah.
like, what kind of food do you want, to say with somebody with a TBI, for some people, that might not be any big deal at all. But that's an open ended question, is still 3.5 years later, can be at times very problematic. So instead, I will
Mm-hmm.
say, do you want Mexican food or Chinese food today? Not what kind of food do you want?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Like, it's I might as well have just said,
Yeah.
speak a dead language to me. Like, I don't know how to do that. So
Mm-hmm.
those the anything that we can do that limits the breadth of choices without taking away being able to be self-empowered, being able to make your own decisions, because or none could be one of the options. Do you want Chinese, Mexican, or something else? Something else? Those don't sound good? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want Italian or Indian or something else? Help them. Don't be so open-ended. And I know that's not really what we're talking about today, except for if we're talking about relationships. Maybe it is. Maybe if you're trying to plan a date or just a friend
Mm-hmm.
hang, don't say to somebody with a TBI, what do you want to do today? Because it's so
Yeah.
big. But to say, hey, I was thinking maybe mini golf or bowling. Do either of those sound good? Yes, great. Pick one.
Mm-hmm.
No? Okay. How about a movie or a walk in the park? Do either of those sound good? You'll have a better relationship with somebody if you are putting the guardrails on, putting the bumpers on the bowling
Mm-hmm.
alley, and allowing them the opportunity to have success and joy.
I cannot love or like those comments enough, because one of the things that I would often make the mistake, because I am very accommodating. If you say, where do you want to go eat? Oh my gosh, Erin, wherever you want to go eat. Again, I can find something anywhere. So I would often make the mistake when Mackenzie would say, she likes to know plans. She likes to know things that are going to happen. She needs things to be predictable. And I would often go right back into my mom mode of being more accommodating. And she would be like, no, I need you to make these decisions. And it's like, oh my gosh, of course you do. What am I thinking? So there are times where, as caregivers, sometimes we need little reminders.
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate when my child, that is the one dealing with the TBI and is the survivor, is patient and
Mm-hmm.
gentle with me, because in my personality, just want to be accommodating. It's like, yeah, I don't care where we go for breakfast. When they're saying, where do you want to go eat? Doesn't matter to me. No, they need me to give them some direction.
Yeah.
So it's really thinking about not giving so many broad choices or timelines. That is another big one where Mackenzie and I have had some disconnect, where she needs me to create the schedule of
Mm-hmm.
holiday plans. What are the holiday plans going to look
Mm-hmm.
like? She needs me to break down the schedule of this is what it's going to be. And then she can fill in the gaps with what she needs to fill in. So even some of those things, family members, when you're thinking about holiday plans and you're dealing with someone in your family that does have a TBI and trying to include them in activities, sometimes it's hard for them to figure out what parts they can be part of or not be part of. They need to know what the plans are, and then they can figure out what can they handle or not be able to handle.
I think that's amazing. And I think giving them, like, for the holiday plan, this is what I have in mind. Does this sound okay to you? So that you're not barking at them.
Mm-hmm.
So you're not making it so they don't have a say in it
Yeah.
at all, but you're giving them the original plan and then asking for their input rather than you get
Mm-hmm.
no input into your life. You do whatever I say. That's not fun for anybody. But this is what I had in
Mm-mm.
mind. What do you think of this? That all sounds good. But you know what? I don't think I'm going to go to the holiday drummer boy show because I think that's too many drums for my little brain. So
Yeah.
having some room there, I think,
Mm-hmm.
is really important. And we've talked about before, often people look at somebody who has survived a TBI and they think that the non TBI survivor is the one making all the accommodations. And I think that's a reasonable thing to think when you're not in the experience of it, is like, oh, I'll have to do all these things for this person who's now in recovery. But we also have to remember, as the caregiver, as the friends, that they have to make lots of exceptions for us. They have to also have grace with us as we're learning, because we're all going to get things a little wrong sometimes and occasionally really wrong. Dallas and I do not fight. We've never argued. I know that's unusual, but we've just always been the best of. He was born just as my buddy, and it's just been great. So we don't fight. But during this TBI recovery experience, we have been, I think, so tired, so fatigued
Mm.
that we just have annoyed each other. So not fights, but just like clearly
Mm-hmm.
frustrating each other. And we had to come up with a code, kind of a safe word in those situations. And I would say, I am doing the best I can in this situation. And he would just give me, he's way taller than me. He would just give me the biggest hug, and he can put his chin on my head when he's hugging me. And so he just gives me this big hug, and that's just our little connection of we're both doing the best we can. And you just have to have grace with each other and with yourself as you're learning.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. And I'm so thankful for that with Mackenzie and Eric. My intentions are pure, but I don't always get it right either. So
It's too big. It's too big. All right. We have covered a lot, and this is a big topic, and I love talking about it because one of the things that we get is hopefully we're sharing some ideas with other people, and hopefully they feel like some familiar, like, yes, I've had that. Oh, that's normal. Great. But also I learn from you, and I'm like, okay, I can do that better. Or I'm reminded of something that I can do better. But once somebody has had a TBI that they're dealing with, it's going to be part of their life in some capacity forever. So we better figure it out so that our relationships as caregivers, as friends, as partners, that we all do better. So we have to keep learning. I've got a quote, and I think you've got a resource. Let's do that for our friends, and then let's wrap it up because it's late where you are because we're in different time zones. All right, so I've got a quote.
Sounds good.
And there is a quiet glow inside you that has survived every season that you thought would break you. Let that remind you of the strength you carry and the light you are still capable of becoming. And that is from an organization called Your Beautiful Life.
Oh, I love that. And today, our resource is a website called SameYou, SameYou, for brain injury recovery. And it was founded by Emily Clark, and it has a focus on mental health and brain injury recovery. And Emily has a unique story that she shares on the website, and it's a nonprofit out of England that you can check out and has some great resources.
And as I recall with Emily, she was an actress on Game of Thrones, right?
Yes.
And so I think she's made this website designed more for younger people, not like little kids, but like the age that our kids are now, those 20s and 30s. That is a rough time to be dealing with a brain bleed when we expect that's what happens to old people. And so to be young and have that kind of a change, there's not as many resources. So that's a really good one as well. And I'm going to throw in a bonus resource, which is Magna Ready. That was the clothing company that particularly worked for younger, more stylish fashions. And I have found them to be very easy to wash and dry and very good quality, but not so expensive that they felt unattainable. This is a great season. Amanda, thank you so much for your time and your insights and your willingness to share these really difficult topics. I love being able to spend time with you.
And I love spending time with you. And as always, everyone, thank you for tuning in. And remember, keep those lights on. Bye-bye.